Hi. Today I'm going to read April 2014, Sign of the Four Blood Moons. And again, here's Irvin Baxter. I've only met him a couple times, but so it's the Sign of the Four Blood Moons by Irvin Baxter. Here it is. What is a blood moon? I'm reading this because it's kind of curious. I know a lot of people were kind of curious about this back when it happened. What is a blood moon? A lunar eclipse occurs when the Earth passes between the sun and the moon. This blocks the sun's rays from reflecting off the moon as normal. However, some of the sun's rays curve around the Earth, causing the moon to appear red during a total eclipse. Because of its vivid color, a total lunar eclipse is often referred to by NASA as blood red moon. The occurrence of blood moons is quite common, normally happening at least twice per year. Most of us have seen the moon when its appearance has changed to red. When four blood moons happen in close succession, NASA refers this as tetrad. Tetrads are rather rare, only taking place 55 times since 1 AD. The teaching of the four blood moons. The teaching of the four blood moons has recently captivated the attention of the religious world. This teaching states that when four consecutive blood moons fall on Jewish feast days, a major event affecting the Jewish people will occur in close proximity to that time. This phenomenon of four consecutive blood moons coinciding with Jewish feast days has only occurred 10 times since 1 AD and only 3 times since 1942 AD. The 3 times since 1492 are as follows. Tetrad of 1493 to 1494, Tetrad of 1949 through 1950, Tetrad of 1967 to 1968. Major events affecting the Jewish people have occurred in close proximity to all three of these Tetrads. The Spanish Inquisition took place in 1492, just before the Tetrad of 1493-94. In 1492, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain gave the Jewish population a mere 4 months to convert to Catholicism or leave the country. It is estimated that between 165,000 and 400,000 Jews fled the country at this time. As many as 50,000 decided to stay, converting to Roman Catholicism. The Spanish Inquisition sought to punish Jews who had converted to Christianity but were not really sincere in their conversions. Torture was used to elicit confessions from these false converts. After confessing, many of them were then burned at the stake. The Inquisition was cruel beyond belief. First, you tell people they have to convert or die. When they do convert, you place them under severe torture to test the sincerity of their conversions. Once they confess under duress, then you burn them at the stake because they are not true Catholics. These are the types of inhumane horrors that were inflicted upon thousands of Jews during the Spanish Inquisition. Was Christopher Columbus Jewish? Many historians now believe that Christopher Columbus was secretly Jewish. They believe his voyage to the West in 1492 was his way of escaping the Spanish Inquisition of that year, and therefore resulting in his discovery of America. In Simon Wiesenthal's book, Sails of Hope, he argues that Christopher's voyage was motivated by a desire to find a safe haven for the Jews in light of their expulsion from Spain. The studies of Carol Delaney of Stanford University led her to believe that Columbus was a deeply religious man whose purpose was to sail to Asia to obtain gold in order to finance a crusade to take back Jerusalem and rebuild the Jews' holiday temple. Columbus voyage was not, as commonly believed, funded by the deep pockets of Queen Isabella, but rather by two Jews who converted to Catholicism to avoid death. Louis de Santangel, Santangel, and Gabriel Sanchez advanced an interest-free loan of 17,000 ducats, I hate to say that, D-U-C-A-T-S, from their own pockets to help pay for their voyage. Another prominent Jew, Don Isaac Abravanel, A-B-R-A-V-A-N-E-L, who was a rabbi and Jewish statesman, also donated towards the voyages of Christopher Columbus. Is it any surprise that the United States has the largest Jewish population on Earth, standing at 6.6 million? Israel presently has 6.1 million Jews living within her borders. This magazine is from 2014, March-April 2014. The nation of Israel reborn on May 14, 1948, just before the Tetrad of 1949 to 1950. After the destruction of Jerusalem by the Romans in 70 AD, Jews were driven into exile. For the next 1878 years, the Jewish people were sifted through the nations of the earth, yet they retained their identity. After Hitler's horrible Holocaust during World War II, the Jews were finally granted a homeland by the nations of the world. On May 1948, the modern state of Israel was born. The city of Jerusalem was reunited during Tetrad of 1967-1968. God said many times in the Old Testament that he would place his name in Jerusalem. During their 2,000 years of exile, the Jewish people turned their faces toward Jerusalem 3 times each day, praying for the restoration of Jerusalem and the rebuilding of their temple. On June 7, 1967, the Jordanians launched an attack against Israel and West Jerusalem. Israel counterattacked, driving Jordan out of East Jerusalem, out of Judea's Samaria, and back into its own land across the Jordan River. Jerusalem was undivided and under Jewish control for the first time since the destruction of Jerusalem by the Romans in 70 AD. 3 tetrads on feast days equals major Jewish events. The only three tetrads matching feast days in the last 500 years have all fallen remarkably close to major events in Jewish history, as we have just explained. Now it's about to happen for a 4th time. 4 blood moons just ahead. 4 blood moons on Jewish feast days are getting ready to appear for the 4th time in the last 500 years. According to NASA, they will occur on April 15, 2014, Passover, October 8, 2014, Feast of Tabernacles, April 4, 2015, Passover, September 28, 2015, Feast of Tabernacles. Some prophecy teachers are boldly declaring that this tetrad just ahead signals that something is getting ready to happen which will change the world forever. Should we even pay attention to the moon and the stars? As Christians, we should not practice or put our faith in astrology. However, God has at times used the heavens for sending signs to mankind. In Genesis 1:14, God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. Let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years." God specifically said, "Let them be for signs." We also note that the wise men who were led to Jesus by a star. This is recorded in Matthew 2:1-2. Now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. Herod inquired of the chief priests and the scribes where Messiah was to be born according to the prophecies. He was told that Messiah was to be born in Bethlehem. Herod relayed the information to the wise men. Matthew 2:9-10 records, when they had heard the king, they departed. And lo, the star, which they saw in the east, went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. The prophecy of the moon being turned into blood. There are several prophecies foretelling that the moon will be turned to blood in the end time. Joel 2:30-31 states, "And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord come." Revelation 6:12 also prophesies that the moon will become as blood. "And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood." Will the moon literally be turned to blood? It is not reasonable to believe the entire moon will be turned into blood when the prophecy is fulfilled. The scriptures undoubtedly mean that the moon will take on the appearance of blood. What can we expect to happen? 4 blood moons are going to occur between April 15, 2014 and September 28, 2015, and they're going to happen on Jewish feast days. If the pattern of the last 3 tetrads continues, then we can expect some major events for the Jewish people. Is there a big event on the horizon? One of the greatest prophetic fulfillments in the last 2,000 years lies just ahead of us. The Bible prophesies that a peace agreement between Israel and Palestine will soon be signed. U.S. Secretary John Kerry has been working diligently since July 30, 2013 to reach a peace agreement between Israelis and Palestinians. He has set April 29, 2014 as the deadline for reaching an agreement. What will this peace agreement do? According to the biblical prophecy, the signing of the Middle East peace agreement will mark the beginning of the final 7 years to Armageddon and the second coming of Jesus to the earth. Under the agreement, the Antichrist and the international community will recognize Israel's right to homeland in the Holy Land. The Palestinian state will be created in the West Bank, which is biblical area of Judea. There are presently 650,000 Jews living in Judea. Many of the Jews presently living in the parts of Judea that will become the new Palestinian state will decide to remain in their homes, living as a Jewish minority in Palestine. The dispute over control of the Temple Mount will be resolved by placing it under a sharing arrangement between Muslims and Jews. Israel will build her third temple on the Temple Mount without disturbing the Dome of the Rock or the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Israel's temple will be completed during the first 3.5 years after the signing of the agreement. Halfway through the final 7 years, the Antichrist will stand in the temple claiming to be Messiah and God. The scriptures call this the abomination of desolation. Another Jewish Holocaust ahead. When the world realized magnitude of 6 million Jews perishing in Hitler's horrible Holocaust, the response was universal. Never again. We can never let anything like this happen ever again. However, as incomprehensible as this may seem, another Jewish Holocaust lies just ahead. Jesus himself gave the prophecy in the most famous prophecy chapter of the entire Bible. Matthew 24:15-18 through 18 and 21 records the prophecy. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time. No, nor ever shall be. As previously explained, the prophecy peace agreement will create a Palestinian state of Judea. 650,000 Jews live in Judea today. Some of them remain in Judea, living as Jewish minority in the newly created Palestine state. Halfway through the 7 years, at the time of the abomination of desolation, the Palestinians will begin to slaughter the Jews living among them. Jesus said the attack would be so sudden that if a person were on the housetop, he should not come down to get his clothes, just hit the ground running. Jesus said this would be a time of great tribulation. We must warn them. The Jews of Judea do not realize the extreme danger that lies just ahead. They don't believe in Jesus. Consequently, they don't study the New Testament. Yet Jesus obviously wanted the Jews of Judea to be warned. He spent several verses of his Olivet prophecy telling the Jews where the persecution will take place and specifically when it will take place. In spite of Jesus' desire to warn the Jewish people of the coming Holocaust of Judea, they remain totally oblivious to the extreme danger that lies just ahead. They are going to be blindsided by the slaughter that will be launched against them by the Palestinians unless we warn them. This is our chance to help the Jewish people. They gave us our Bible and they gave us our Messiah. Now we can warn them in this hour of their most urgent need. How can we warn them? There are 2.27 million homes in the nation of Israel. We plan to send the Endtime Magazine to every Israeli home so that no one will miss the warning. The magazine front cover will say, "In time, warning, final 7 years of Armageddon just began." To what to do? Stay inside. See this little thing here. Goals of the magazine: to explain the prophecy of the final 7 years in easy to understand terms. Dedicate a section of the magazine to those in Judea. If they listen to our